Hello, today we'll be going to recap the next 3 chapters of Transmigrating to Another World once more. Let's begin. Sihan prepares himself by exhibiting a strong aura of his fighting energy, surprising every single person out there, include Alita and Zeon, who did not expect Sihan to go ahead and showcase the actual talents he owns. Zeon figures it's the high-ranking aura of the savior that he only heard of in the legendary stories. The Black Lion Knights are shocked along with Alita to see Sihan's powers, while Zeon just stands there impressed, explaining to Alita that it's a high-ranked skill that was created to defeat Tyrant King's monsters and is way too strong as compared to other auras. Sihan proceeds with his heaven-breaking aura to attack the dragon to affect his scales, but feels annoyed at the same time for not being able to use the actual power he owns. The knights realize that he's no ordinary mercenary and is even stronger than them, but nobody recognizes him due to the weakness in his powers except for one person. Zeon and Alita try to aid Sihan in the fight, but the tough creature doesn't allow them to intervene, but this still doesn't faze Sihan, who's determined to end this even if his identity is revealed. Sihan's warned about the dragon using all his powers, so Sihan exhibits even more energy than before, turning his heaven-breaking aura into Death Dragon aura to finish the dragon, fighting for his life in a single blow worth 1,000 blows. Sihan sighs in relief, seeing the dead dragon, satisfied by the execution. While the others just stand there in disbelief at an ordinary ranked mercenary killing a dangerous otherworldly creature single-handedly without getting hurt at all. Sihan looks bothered and uncomfortable at this, even thought he knew everyone's gonna stare once he does something like that. He doubts of everyone identifying himself, but only receives words of how everyone is amazed and impressed by what he just did. This leaves Sihan confused, unable to know how to react and cover the situation up, as the knights keep questioning why he's been working as an ordinary free hire with skills that he owns. Sihan figures that his weaker powers gave him the benefit of everyone just assuming it as his talent and not some unusual powers. He feels a mix of emotions at the fact that his self from 10 years ago could have dealt with such a monster in a single blow, but he lets it pass, thinking that at least this expedition is over. He is interrupted by Joldarin questioning on why he's been hiding his identity and abilities, since his skills don't fall behind in any way as compared to the Black Lion Knights, so what's his reason behind using the mask of being an ordinary user rank? Sihan nervously thinks of an excuse when Zeon intervenes in rescue, explaining how his big brother has been training in the mountains since years and is not accustomed to working as a mercenary since long, so he suggested him to work as a user rank first to gain experience of living such a life. He tries to wave the situation off by explaining that it's kind of necessary for free hires to be able to hide their true identities due to the work they do. In all this rant, what the knights focus on hearing as a priority is Zeon calling Sihan an older brother, while it looks quite the opposite to them. Lucky to them, the knights buy the story and Sihan just chuckles, awkwardly agreeing along that this proved a great experience for him and he hopes he has been a help to them. And if so, then he'll be happy to receive some bonus rewards for this. Joldarin smiles in comfort, understanding the money-making nature of Sihan, and informs that he'll be receiving his reward back in the city, to which an actor Sihan reacts gratefully. Sihan genuinely thanks Zeon for covering up for him, to which Zeon waves it off, saying his hard work to hide the identity and adjust the strength to not reveal his true self shouldn't have been gotten caught, so he did what he had to. This catches Alita's attention, who discreetly whispers to Sihan on Zeon not knowing he's lost some of his strength. Sihan gives a justification that it's not an easy thing to do to share your weaknesses once you've been betrayed by all of your own close friends. He explains that he only told Alita because it was something inevitable to share with her. He further sighs in relief to Alita that he wasn't caught by the gambling move he made by using that aura in front of everyone. He says that only a super sharp-sighted person would be able to spot his true self with his current energy level. Alita spots a distressed guy over the back who's been a former acquaintance to Savior Sihan and is known to have a sharp sight, getting Sihan's attention to none other than Mr. Coward Keltron. The expedition comes to an end with a few lives lost and the body of Lakran and the dragon being burned down by magic to remove traces. This makes Sihan notice on how magic works on the bodies of otherworldly creatures, and they disappear to it even though it doesn't work on alive otherworldly creatures. He notices another detail, that this happened to the female Ignis Wolf too, but not to the male leader. The night before the squad returns to Jacksongord, Sihan faces a scared and shocked Keltrin with an evil grin. If you guys are new to the channel, I got you covered with all good content like this, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and join us on the road into 100,000 sub. And if you guys enjoy the video, or if you guys find it interesting, let me know by dropping a like on it as well, would be seriously appreciated. Let's continue. Sihan knocks on Keltrin's door telling him to address the elephant in the room, but a nervous Keltrin feigns confusion, questioning what this is about and how they should be asleep. Sihan looks confused for a moment and then exclaims to Keltrin to speak up, which scares Keltrin enough to call Sihan Savior Sihan. Keltrin's face pales while Sihan grins evilly, since he was right about Keltrin figuring out his identity. Sihan sits across from Keltrin, impressed that he figured this out, unlike the sword hires, which makes Keltrin confess that he has met him a few times and has seen him fight, so he was able to pick up the similarities even though the power differed from before. Keltrin simultaneously wonders why would a savior be in disguise if he's back. He thinks that even if it's to not be troubled or disturbed, Sihan has still been putting way too much effort for this little a reason. This makes Keltrin voice out his thoughts to Sihan on whether he still has enemies in Terranor. This surprises Sihan on how easily Keltrin has been putting the pieces of the puzzle together, so he questions back to Keltrin on why would he think so. Keltrin nervously answers in honesty that there have been rumors of him being forced back to Earth by the 6 rulers since he left out of nowhere, and even though the rumor was ignored as provided the strength of Sihan, the other 6 would be stupid to assume they'll be safe even after sending him back. He tells that seeing Sihan back made his mind wander back to the said rumor. Sihan scrutinizes Keltrin impressively to how he figured out every detail so easily by just spotting Sihan back in a disguise. He wonders why Keltrin is referred to as a beast brain when he can work his brain this well. Sihan smiles, asking what would Keltrin's reaction be if the rumor turns out to be the truth. Keltrin analyzes the situation in his head, knowing that it seems weird for it to be true, but if it is in fact the truth, then Sihan is definitely back for revenge, and he's only going to get rid of any hindrances in his plan. This realization makes Keltrin's brain melt and his soul leave his body as he gets down on his knees in front of a bewildered Sihan, pleading him to not kill him. He starts ranting about the family dependent on him who'd be on streets if he dies. Sihan looks at the situation in horror, figuring out the reason of him being called a beast brain. Keltrin has always been the one to succumb to fear, and he only works his brain well and confident when he's sure of the situation being a safe one for him. Sihan asks a bawling Keltrin to get up since he doesn't plan on killing him, to which Keltrin pledges his alliance to Sihan, ready to betray Jacksongord. Sihan smiles confidently, telling Keltrin that it'll be with a cost, and hits Keltrin's chest with some energy while the dumb Count starts panicking that he's about to die, only to be told that Sihan inly used the exploding aura on him. Exploding aura is a skill of Sihan to implant a bomb energy in someone's chest and cause it to explode anytime he wants, but the skill doesn't work on sword hires and magians. Sihan claims that Keltrin's life is now in his hands, while Keltrin simply sighs in relief that he's alive. This confuses Sihan on Keltrin not worrying about the aura, to which Keltrin easily explains that of course he'll support the savior instead of the guys who are trying to destroy them with their bad ruling, and as long as he proves his loyalty, he knows Sihan won't use anything against him. Sihan leaves the place to meet Alita, who's been on a lookout for him. She asks in worry if he's feeling weak with all the fighting and the exploding aura, to which Sihan sarcastically replies of using something that doesn't exist. Turns out that the exploding aura is only a rumored skill to play mentally with the opponent and instill fear in them. The skill is not even possible to exist. This somewhat offends Alita, feeling like being scammed like many other people. The two walk off discussing the expedition and wondering the link between the female Ignis wolf and the dragon. Sihan thinks of the two linking back to the experiments going on in the Blue Ivory Tower. This makes Alita share one of her own confusions with Sihan. She talks about the black powder that they saw being used to control the beasts, to which Sihan intervenes that it indeed was something weird and too strong to have the ability to take over someone's mental state completely. But this isn't what Alita's point of worry has been. She shares of having an eerie and ominous feeling when she saw the powder being used, something so strange that she couldn't describe it other than having dozens of bugs crawling up her body. She speaks, almost distraught, that the moment she saw the powder, it made her want to cry. Lilstein uses the black powder to control another being and tells him to kill himself, which the guy begins to comply to but starts gaining his sanity a bit last moment to falter and be aware of what he's been doing. Lilstein is annoyed by the fact that no matter how much heart powder he uses, he can't control anyone enough to make them kill themselves, so he simply burns the person with magic. He keeps wondering how he can achieve perfect mind control. Meanwhile, Keltrin briefs Jexengard about the events of the subjugation and how the real aim was to target a dragon that has been living there for about 300 years. He briefs Jexengard about the injuries and the events, leaving out the detail linking to the Blue Ivory Tower. He tells that the dragon's identity was kept a secret by the cult, taking the blame of the events that occurred due to the dragon. This infuriates Jexengard, who's always eager to fight, that he should have been the one to be gone on the subjugation, since it would have been thrilling for him to have faced and taken down the dragon. Keltrin apologizes nervously, but Jexengard lets it go, knowing that Keltrin was unaware of the existence of the dragon. The two captains from Black Lion Knights discuss about the people who made great contribution in the subjugation, interested in knowing them and recruiting them as Black Knights, but the three have already joined Keltrin's knightage, which kind of annoys them, but they let it go, considering them the people not worthy of being knights since they went for a job with more money and less work. Keltrin meets with Sihan in his mansion and briefs him about saying whatever he was told to say and using their fake identities to recruit them as his knights for an annex building that is a bit isolated from notice. Sihan listens to all this with a satisfaction and jokes about the only task being left is them getting on their knees to pledge an oath to Keltrin. This successfully triggers Keltrin as his face loses its color and his jaw drops at this. Keltrin panics that this humble behavior of such an esteemed personality for him almost gives him a heart attack every time. Keltrin then nervously pries on when is he planning on killing Jexengard if he's here for a revenge, which makes Sihan laugh out loud at the thought of killing someone just for betraying him. He tells Keltrin that he has no motive of killing anyone since they sent him back alive and unharmed too, and they just lost all of affection and care of Sihan for them, which is not worth killing. Sihan speaks darkly that he won't be killing them, fully showing that he has something evil up his sleeve. A flashback of a battlefield from the tyrant's rule shows a Saffron sitting by fire in deepest of thoughts when Jexengard approaches him asking him to go celebrate their victory. Saffron speaks that this victory doesn't entirely belong to them entirely, and this fight was against the half-brother of the tyrant leader, and they didn't win because of their fight but because the Trant king himself had his brother's army backstab him and get his brother killed. Jexengard takes it all as a joke of the beheaded brother looking furious at his backstabbing king brother, and he understands that bloodline does not matter in politics and it's just winning that matters. Saffron smiles at how simple the thinking mechanism of Jexengard is and envies him for it, alongside asking him to think of who'd be the leader if they succeed in killing the tyrant. All Jexengard thinks about it how it'll be peaceful to have that environment, but he adds that it'll probably be Sihan. Saffron proceeds to out a thought in Jexengard's head that would they even remain forever friends with Sihan provided they just witnessed a brother's betrayal a while back. Jexengard wakes up on his training ground realizing that he dreamt of a memory from such a long time ago and thinks of the decision they made, but he's violently interrupted by someone trying to get into the middle of his training even though he specifically told the guards to not be disturbed. A long-haired guy, named Ains, enters and questions Jexengard for starting a construction for another palace next to an already existing concubine palace. He calls it a waste of money and useless torture of making people work as laborers. Jexengard's great reasoning for a whole new palace is just because he doesn't like the heating system of the concubine palace and desires a fancier place. Ains gets even more infuriated at this useless labor for his citizens and exclaims that it sounds like something the tyrant king would have done, but is violently cut off by Jexengard for crossing a line there. An angry Jexengard, with red in his eyes, sternly tells Ains that this statement is crossing all boundaries even though he is a family. His son. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for next part.